We're Sean and Megan Jantz.
We believe that a great life consists of small breakthroughs compounded together. The goal each week is to provide tips and strategies to help you achieve your own breakthroughs in your marriage, in your business, and with your money.
Welcome to the Breakthrough Project.
Hey, welcome back, Breakthrough Crew. Sean Jantz here.
And Megan Jantz.
And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking and giving highlights on our financial breakthrough course, right? So you've been a financial advisor for
7 years now.
7 years. We've been running a financial advising firm. So we've sat down with lots of people, and we've now gotten debt free. We've done a lot of studying on money, and so we created our financial breakthrough course. It's $90, and it's some of our best personal development on money, and it's kind of titled, how to start winning the money game internally and externally. Because I think a lot of people think winning with money is just about math and numbers, when it's 80% behavior and attitude, right? Mm-hmm. And then 20% we go into the math and the numbers. And so what we want to do, we want to kind of dive into here. I'm going to be talking a few highlights of the course if you're thinking about taking it, and specifically we want to talk a little bit more about winning with money internally. Because when you say, especially when you sit down with your clients, it's pretty important to talk to them about the mindset of money too, right?
Yeah, I would say that's like 90% of it. You have to want to get better or want to change your situation and want to receive the knowledge, but also have the want to apply it as well. So that's huge.
Yeah, and I think we are who we are today because of our mindset, not because of we studied finance and math, right? I mean, we've really personally developed our mindset to understanding how actually money works, right? And so I want to start jumping right into this. And before I do that, I do like to consider myself as somebody who tells you what you need to hear, right? Instead of maybe not necessarily what you want to hear. And so right off the bat, right, if you want to start this process of winning with money internally, you need to understand that everything you currently have right now, the feelings that you're feeling right now, and any successes or current problems that you're going through right now, here's a secret for you, right? You are attracting it all into your life. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a hard pill for a lot of us to swallow. It's somehow, we've attracted our situation, we've attracted our problems, we've attracted good or bad what's going on.
Yeah, and a lot of this stems from the documentary on Netflix called The Secret, right? Which is all about the law of attraction. And some people might say it's hokey, whatever, but you can't deny that the law of attraction is real. I mean, and I think this was really, because when we first started this process of winning with money, our situation was pretty bad, right? Mm-hmm. And I learned this, that Sean Jantz, you're attracting all of this debt. You're attracting all of this stress. And I think what's important, my next saying here, and I think this is something that's sometimes hard to swallow, especially if you're struggling, but you need to understand, we've been there, that you're getting out of life right now exactly what you think you deserve, right?
Yeah. And again, it can be a hard pill to swallow, but somehow, you've stopped working or you've just developed a negative mindset, and if it's negative, you just keep attracting more and more into your life, whether you like it or not.
Like the success gods know how much time you're putting in, and they will pay you accordingly. Nothing started coming out. Success really didn't start happening until I actually started to put the work in. Because here's what happens when you actually start putting the work in, okay? Your mind starts going hey, I'm doing things that winners do. I should start winning. And then when that process, that brain starts going, all of a sudden you start attracting success. You start attracting this and that and opportunities, right? You remember the bad years, right? But we started actually doing what winners do, and then all of a sudden things start coming into place. So we've seen this firsthand, right?
Yeah. And I think it can be a kind of a domino effect, if you're down too, you're just focused on how down you are, not about where you're going. And so I think that was something in the beginning. We were just, frustrated, but just kept getting more and more frustrated rather than just had the sight of our goal and what changes we needed to make to like make our progress?
I think one of the things that like you have to start doing something, and I think this is hard to do, and it's something that you got to practice almost literally every day or almost like every hour, is you got to start reprogramming your brain to constantly thinking about what you want instead of what you don't want. And I won't lie to you, I think a lot about what I don't want, and I immediately got to go, dude, snap out of it, because I continue to just reinforce these negative thoughts, and then my mind finds even more negative thoughts, and it becomes like a rabbit hole, and I gotta like snap myself out of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think, I mean, we all know misery loves company. Like, it's so much easier to talk about negative things than it is to talk about positive things for most people. You know, if you think about your job or who your circle is, like, it's a lot easier to just kind of sit there and complain than talk about all the good things.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, like, if you're trying to win with money, you got to stay away from people who aren't.
Right.
Because most people that aren't winning with money, they usually just complain. Like you just said, misery loves company, and it just gets you back into a funk. It's like, man, it is easier to complain.
Right. And if somebody's complaining, because it's like when someone's complaining, you're not going to like say, oh, really? That sucks. Well, guess all this good stuff that happened to me. Like, you don't do that, right? You kind of think of, oh, yeah, well, you were late. Oh, yeah, well, guess what? My little girl spilled everything today, or I don't even know, but you're going to try to think of something negative about what happened to you that morning too, just to kind of go along with the conversation and make them feel better.
No, I think like, and this is like such a simple, it's a lot about, and you might be saying, well, my husband's negative. Well, here's like a super simple communication shift, like a positive shift. So a lot of people, like, if you typically you work away and then you come home and you say, oh, how was your day? Oh, it was okay, blah, blah. Instead of saying, how was your day? Say, hey, honey, what was the best part of your day today? So that should be your first question. See how automatically that was a positive shift. What was your best part of the day? And see how automatically that starts off.
Yeah, and you start thinking about, okay, what was good? Oh, this was good.
Actually, I did have a
this
good
is okay.
day.
Yeah. And I mean, I've sat down, like, I've talked to people, and I mean, a couple of days ago, I was talking to this guy, and I mean, he was such a nice guy, right? And then, I was just trying to be positive, and he just kind of had all these negative things, and I'm like, I don't know, man, you got a problem for every solution, so I don't know what to tell you.
Stay away from negative people.
Yeah, it's like until you want
they got a
to
problem
change
to
your
every
mindset,
solution.
then you're going to be sad.
And
or
more than
miserable.
likely, this guy's probably in debt, probably struggling with money. He's probably right?
Yeah, he wasn't very happy.
Just
so.
the words that, like, I can't stress enough. Winning with money is 80% of the words that you say. Like, we've lived this firsthand. Right? And so when you start this process, because we're obviously entrepreneurs and we love people who start a business, because this is also business talk too. Like, the biggest enemy that you're going to deal with when you're like, okay, I'm going to start winning, I'm going to start actually growing my business. A lot of people, I think, blame this or the government or they blame their job. Like, the number one enemy to financial success is yourself. Like, you got to take the time to start personally developing yourself. One of our indirect mentors at Milet says, like, life is not happening to you, it's happening for you, and it's how you react to certain situations, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's how you deal with it. It's not what happens, but it's how you deal with your problem.
We're all going through problems. And it's the process of how you react to these problems. So we're about to gonna introduce to you, in my opinion, like the single most powerful concept that I've ever learned, right? And it's called the RAS. It's a function of your brain that'll completely change your entire life once you figure this out. And I go into more detail inside the course on this, but it's called the RAS, which we like to call the RAS. And we say the RAS a lot. So hopefully if you're listening to this going forward, RAS should be, you and your husband or your spouse should be talking about the RAS a lot. But what it stands for, it's called the reticular activator system. Okay, kind of a big little sciencey word, but the RAS, basically what the RAS is it's your subconscious mind. So the RAS is the subconscious mind will always be a prover. So whatever you believe, your subconscious is going to go to work to prove you right. Basically what the RAS is, it's a filter, and your subconscious will only find to you what you want to find, right? What's your experience with the RAS? Of what you would explain if somebody says, what's the RAS? How would you explain it?
I mean, I would say like, I mean, just in the most simplest, I don't know, just from like a conversation I was having not too long ago. But like, I mean, if you're talking something negative about somebody, I mean, your mind is just gonna like think of all the bad things and like why you should think that way, you know? Um, but I would say too, like in a good way, when you're thinking about starting a business, and you're thinking positive, I mean, honestly, I would say you're gonna start seeing opportunity everywhere too.
Yeah, and I think one of the simplest forms that everybody understands what the RAS is let's just say you just bought a car, right? And let's say you just bought a white Honda. You are now going to start seeing white Hondas everywhere. I don't care where they are. They could be 3 lanes back, right? And you're still going to see that white Honda. So think of the car you just bought or the car that you want. Don't you see those cars everywhere?
Yeah.
That is the RAS going to work because your subconscious mind. So right now I'm about to buy a GMC Denali truck. And I see GMC Denali trucks everywhere because GMC is on my RAS, right?
Yeah, and it's like they were always there before, but now
they were always there
they're
before.
on your RAS, you
but
see
now,
them everywhere.
And another example is like when you go like males, when you go through puberty. Before puberty, you don't notice females, right? When you're in first, second grade, you don't typically notice females. I don't know, women go through the same deal. But once you go through that process, all of a sudden your RAS, you start noticing pretty girls. Same goes true. I like the example as if you're a single male, you typically notice a lot of females because your RAS is on females. But when you're married, you don't really notice that many. So basically, in the simplistic form, the RAS is a prover. So whatever you believe, the RAS will always make you right. Yeah. And so another example is we just went through Donald Trump and the wall. So whatever you believe, whether you think the wall is a good idea or a bad idea, if you think it's a good idea, the RAS is going to go to work to only find good articles. You're only going to notice articles that are good ideas. If you don't think it's a good idea, you're only going to see articles online.
Yeah, well, that's what you're going to search for, obviously, and click on, and then that's what's going to be cookie to you.
Yeah, and so basically another example is the time 11:11. And I'm sure some of you are already thinking like, you didn't even know it, but I'm sure you see 11:11 a lot. That is because once you get 11:11 on your RAS, it is the craziest thing ever. You will see 11:11. It's not just time. Like it's in recordings and on your phone, on the
receipts.
Like it is insane once you get 11:11 on your RAS. And so that's how powerful the RAS is. And so whether it's in your money or in your business, in your relationships, you turn your RAS on what you want and it'll literally go to work to find it for you, right? Because you're in the business of like, of recruiting and getting talent. Well, if you think that it's hard to recruit talent, you're only going to find that it's hard, right? But if you think it's easy, people want to work with me, you're going to start experiencing things, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yep, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think you just attract what you're putting out. Like you attract who you are, not what you want necessarily too.
Yeah, and so that's why vision boards are important. It's important to have what you want on your phone and seeing it every single day.
Yeah, and I would say like affirmations always help too. And I mean, even I remember when we had first watched The Secret, like us even being kind of accountability for each other too, because again, it's easy to talk about negative stuff. And so like, if Sean was having a bad day and kind of talking about stuff and, I'd listen, but I say, okay, like, are these thoughts serving us? And so we knew we had to make a switch, and make that change.
And that was like your number one thing in the hard times? Because obviously I struggled sometimes I just mentioned that. I struggled with being positive. And you would say, Sean, is this serving you right now? And I'm like,
yeah, I'm always a positive one.
Because Megan was actually mostly a lot of times the positive one in some of our hard struggle years. And she would just constantly say, is this serving you? Like, that's a good I want you to take that home with you. Like, that should be a nugget. Like, and then if you need to say it to yourself, like, is this thought serving me? Is this thought serving me?
Yeah, and again, it's not always what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear.
Yeah. And so another thing about, I think a lot of people, if you are struggling with money, and we've sat down with lots of people, it's important that I think what's crazy is you have to figure out what is your wealth profile, and you got to go get it. And so what I mean by that is most people, they are letting other people such as a boss or a company tell them what you are worth, right? You're worth $16 an hour. You're worth $12 an hour. You're worth 20, and then you just accept that, and then you just say, "Oh, I'm only," because they told you you're worth 20, you've accepted that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what's so important, even if you do have a job, you need to be working on getting what you feel like your wealth profile is. You got to stop letting other people tell you what you're worth. So an example on wealth profile. Today, this constantly changes as I personally develop, but my wealth profile today is 1.5 million. So what that means is that I will not go and accept a job unless they pay me 1.5 million. So if I can't get 1.5 million, then what do?
Work for yourself.
I gotta
or
work
you
for
create that.
then I gotta go work for myself. And so I believe that you should always keep a job as long as they're paying you and continue to pay you your wealth profile. And I think a lot of people, they're just really accepting, because we have always said that most people don't have a budget problem, because you've sat down with lots of people.
Yeah.
Very few people have a budget problem. They have what?
An income problem. They don't make enough money. They don't have enough money, cash flow, money coming in.
Yeah, and I think you got to go and get what you're worth. Sit down and say, "Hey, this is what I'm worth." Explain why, obviously.
Yeah, I know you've said it a lot. Like, you are getting paid in direct proportion to the amount of problems that you solve. And so you're at your job and you want to make more money. Okay, what kind of problem can you solve for your company and say, "Look, if I can solve this, I'm worth this, or I'm worth this. This is why I'm going to solve this." I don't know, but yeah, ask for it.
Yeah, and I think like most companies, like they want to keep top talent. And you got to be constantly every year, every quarter, you should be walking into your boss's office and saying, "Hey, I deserve this. If you're not giving me this, I'm out of here." And I'm just telling you, like, that's what I would do if I had a job. And if they're not, like an example, I like Facebook. I like Mark Zuckerberg. It's probably who I'd want to go work for. I'd be, "Mark, 1.5 million. I need stock options as well because I want to make sure that I'm growing the business. So I also
You're incentivized
I'm
to do
incentivized to grow the business and the stock. And then I need 6 weeks paid vacation." That's my wealth profile. And if Mark doesn't give it to me, then what do?
Start your own business.
You got to start it's that simple. Like people, like if your wealth profile is 100 grand and you're not getting it in the marketplace from a job, then you got to just start your own deal. And that's
agree.
right. And so like one of my favorite quotes is, "You either have big goals and dreams or somebody who does is going to hire you to achieve theirs."
Yeah, and if that doesn't stick with you, I don't know.
And I like to
So true.
and sometimes I like to also tell people like, go, if you feel like you're in a good job and possibly has upside, well, go interview your future self. And what do I mean when I say that?
I would say go talk to somebody that's been there 20, 30, 40 years
Exactly.
and, that's in retirement's 10 or less years away and ask them, "Hey, did you love what you do? Do you wish you would, is this everything you ever thought it would be and more, or did your dreams come true here?"
Because you kind of had possibly the vision, because you liked the Buckle, which is retail store, sells retail clothes. You kind of possibly, before we got introduced to entrepreneurship, that's likely would have been the path. But you looked at one of the things you say is you looked at your manager in their life, because they'd been there 10, 15 years. And you were like, that is not where I want to be in 15 years, right?
Yeah. I mean, both of the managers that were kind of my mentors, I mean, their spouses were stay at home. So obviously that meant that, the other spouse couldn't work. And I don't know, financially maybe didn't need to, but also, I mean, that's because their job was so demanding and so many hours away from your family. And that's not the kind of life I wanted.
And I think it's so funny how a lot of college kids, they're not even like, "I want to do this, I want to do this." Okay, well, did you go interview somebody who's been doing it for 30 years to make sure that's really what you want? Right? And so like, go interview your future self. So if you don't want to start your own deal, make sure that you are getting what you're worth, and make sure that it's a life that you want. Go interview your future self of what you'd be if you actually gonna stick it out with that company. And I think a huge breakthrough, because this show's all about having many breakthroughs. A breakthrough that I had for myself when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to stop making everybody else rich. And what I mean by that is like, if you work for a company and you have no stock options, no nothing, you're not incentivized in any way, you don't get any profit share, and you're just busting it, working extra hours. What you're doing is you're just making the owners and the shareholders rich. Your efforts and your successes will help provide for the owners' successes and provide an even greater retirement for the owners, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah, when you've given all this time, all this effort,
No,
blood,
no
sweat,
stops.
tears, and 30 years from now, I mean, what are you going to get?
And so you can't be putting so many hours and just making everybody else rich, and you don't own any piece of any company. Like I always tell people, like if you're going to work there, you need to become an entre employee. Like it's totally fine to have a job, but you've better worked your way to where you have stock options, and now you're an entre employee, and you're able to get rich through the value of the growth of the company.
Yeah, and I think we've proven that like in our businesses too. Like when we've hired people, I mean, when you brought on a partner, I mean, you knew that you could pay him a salary or instead incentivize him with equity. So
yeah, and there's this meme that it shows this boss rolls up in a so it's a worker is sitting outside in the parking lot of the place where they work. Boss rolls up in this really nice new Lamborghini, not Lamborghini, but really nice new car, right? And the coworker goes, "Wow, boss, that's a really nice car." And the boss goes, "Yeah, if you set goals and work even harder this year, I can get an even better car next year," right? Because it's like if you don't make the decision to become an entre employee in your company, in my opinion, it's just not worth it working there, right? And so the second thing that a lot of people make people rich is a lot of people if you're getting paid solely on a W-2, pretty much you're just making the government rich. Because when you just get paid on a W-2, first you see your gross income, which is a lot of times is kind of gross, right? Yucky. And then you see all of this crap being taken out, FICA, Medicare, Social Security, and then they pay you what's left over. Now, see what happens when you get paid on a sole W-2 is the government's taking your money before you even see it. You don't even have access to it to grow it or invest it, right?
Right.
But what happens when you become a 1099 entrepreneur?
then you're responsible for paying your own taxes, and you get to use your money, get all of it, and then
Well, when you
get
get
to
paid on a
invest it.
1099, do they take taxes
No.
throughout? You get all of the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get to decide what you can invest it. You can put it back into the business. You can put it into an IRA. You can do this. You can buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the year, you go sit down with your accountant, make some moves, and you pretty much get to decide how much you owe the government, correct?
100%.
And so as a W-2, if you're solely paid on a W-2, you're just making the government rich. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. Like, I don't know if I'll ever go back to being paid on a W-2 because I can't stand that the government takes my money before I can even touch it. Like, when's the last time you've been paid on a W-2?
2010. Long time. Yeah, and I think, the government knows, though, that most people, if it wasn't that way, people would never pay their taxes.
Yeah.
People wanted it.
So if you start to become an entrepreneur, you're a self-employed financial advisor, no W-2, and you get a write-off. We get a write-off the cell phone, this computer, everything's a write-off. And so you can't do that as a W-2, and
Which you still have anyways.
Yeah.
You still have your cell phone, even if you're an employee.
And then another thing, what a lot of people are doing, what is the biggest buildings, the tallest, biggest buildings in the biggest cities?
Banks.
They're banks. So here's what most people are doing. They are just continuing to make banks richer and richer and richer, right? What's one of the highest credit cards you've seen?
32.
32, 29.99, right? So people continue to put money buy things on credit cards, bad car loans, bad mortgage loans, right? All that is doing is continuing to make the bank richer and richer. Because don't you see this constantly when you sit down with your clients?
I saw a 26% car loan before.
Yeah.
It's like robbery.
Yeah.
It's sad.
You're continuing to making other people rich. So that's why I'm like, no, I'm not making banks any richer than what they already are. They're definitely not. They're not going to get any interest. And we have mortgages, but they're not bad mortgages, right?
Yeah.
And so because you can get a really bad mortgage, like with the adjustable rates and things, typically like with a bank, you go into a bank and deposit money. and the teller's like, hey, want to open up this credit card? 0% for the first year. What do they do once you open up that credit? What do they hand you?
Dum-dum.
They hand you a sucker. They hand you a dum-dum because they got you. They just suckered you in. And these teller, Wells Fargo.
0% sounds good, right?
Right? Mm-hmm. You think of Wells Fargo, like they're pressured to get you to open up a credit card to continue to make those banks richer and richer and richer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen people with CDs, with money sitting in a CD, $30,000 in a CD, but yet they have a credit card with that same bank with a $3,500 balance. And they're paying.
No. So I'm the technical brain. So you need to explain what you just said so people understand what you just said there, right? There is one time we sat down with this lady, okay? She had roughly about $3,000 in a CD, certificate of deposit. It was like
No, it was more than that. It was like $30,000.
Okay, so $30,000 in a CD, less than 2%. Mm-hmm. But then she also had a credit card with the same bank getting charged $29.99. So it's mathematically impossible to win the money game.
Yeah,
if your investments are getting less than your debt, it's mathematically impossible to win the money game, and the banks own you. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, I just talked to a girl too. She has money in her savings. She wanted to buy a car, but she was still going to finance it. And I'm like, wait, you have that. I mean, anyways, but yeah, I had to do the math for her, and I use the calculator, the debt snowball calculator, and I said,
which is included in financial break. That debt calculator, holy cow, will save you thousands and thousands.
Yeah, it's amazing. And she has like $25,000 in her savings, but yeah, she wanted to buy a car. She was like $16,000. And then if she financed it though, I plugged it in for her, and I said, you're going to end up paying like $18,700 for this car when you could just pay it cash. And anyways, yeah, just showing people. I think people don't realize, it's pretty simple to make smart financial decisions, but they just aren't educated.
Yeah, that honestly, I mean, you just nailed it on the head. It just comes down to education. $90 for this financial breakthrough course. It'll be everything you should have learned, right? We paid thousands of dollars for college degrees, finance degree, $90 for this course, and it's going to completely change the entire trajectory of your life, right?
Yeah. And I would say, like, not even just the value that comes from the course too, but then I would also say, like, I mean, they would have us too to also, like, ask for advice or bounce some ideas off of and that kind of thing. I think that's valuable as well.
I think like a mindset that you got to start having is you got to start playing the money game to win instead of playing the game not to lose. There's a huge difference. I hope you just understood what I just said. You got to start playing to win instead of not. Everybody's just trying not to lose.
Yeah, like in my mind, everyone's like just kind of trying to get by, like pay their bills and.
Yeah. Like you got to get on the offensive, and I know, but I never ever think badly of them because this was me. It was just they just don't have the education. That's why you got to get the $90 course so you can learn to start winning, get on the offense. And what's hard about this is that our brains are hardwired to survive instead of thrive. Right? And that's with money, and that's with anything, right? Mm-hmm. But you got to start reprogramming your brain to actually want to start winning with money, right? And I think to wrap up here, one of the things that you and I cover, and we're really, really heavy on this, is a lot of financial educators really focus on budgeting. Right? And by zero means do we say budgets aren't good or like you need to have a budget. Mm-hmm. But we've sat down with 1,000+ families, you mostly, and very rare does a family have a budget problem. They have an income problem. So we're the couple that tells you like you need to start making more money, like plain and simple, because we're definitely not the people who want to be like limit your life, don't have fun, don't do this, don't do that. Like no, we want you to. Life's short, have fun. Budget, but make more money, because to start making more money, you need to understand that you are paid in direct proportion to the amount of value you bring to the marketplace. So how do you quickly make more money?
Get more clients.
Well,
help more people.
In general, what I just said, how do you make more money?
Solve more problems.
You just bring more value to the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Like that's how I make more money. Mm-hmm. And that's all you got to do too, right? So if you're just stuck at 8 to 10 hour job, like you can't bring more value. That's why you got to branch out, likely start a side hustle.
Yeah, invest in yourself a little bit. And I'm not saying go to school necessarily, like free stuff that you can find online.
And start bringing value to the marketplace, like you do and like I do. That's the only way we make more money. Literally, the only way. Well, I guess through our investments, but in through active income, the only way we make more money is if we bring more value. But I like it how I say that because it does put it in perspective of like, hey, I just got to help more people, and then in turn, I get paid X, right?
Yep.
And I think sometimes we do talk to people like, hey, you need to be making $250,000, $500,000 a year. That's probably where the sweet spot is for a good American family. It's like, well, I don't know, money. I don't know if I need that much. Money's not, will it make me bad, right? Some people get like scared to make that much. But what we always tell people is that money only makes you more of what you already are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree on that?
Yeah, I would say it just accentuates your how you are. Like, if you're a giver naturally and a nice person, and if you're generous, like, I mean, the more money you make, the more you can give and the more you can be generous with it. But if you're negative, and then yeah, it's just going to make you a worse person.
I mean, your church needs more money. Your school needs more money. We just got back from a fundraiser. Like everybody needs more money. I get so upset with people. Or I hate the saying that like, you don't need more money. It's like, what are you talking about? Yes, you do. Like you and I, we're big givers. We want to help. We can't do that much help if we don't focus on providing more value to the marketplace so that we can make more. Because I know more money in our pockets, we will do really good with that, right? We're not gonna, because like you said, or like I said, money only makes you more of what you are. So if you're a good person and have a heart of gold, you can do more for your family and your community.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And
which I love to do. So
and when you get invited,
I definitely need more money.
when you get invited to fundraisers, you can write $1,000 check, $10,000 check, right?
Yeah.
And give back.
Yeah.
And so it's not bad to make I think some churches do kind of maybe put the kibosh on, don't make more money, it's bad. But then of course they hand out the deal every day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, kind of one of our sayings is like the best way to help the poor is to not become one of them.
Yeah, right? And so to kind of wrap up here, I think most people get money is controlling them. And you just got to reprogram your brain you got to start controlling your money. I view every dollar as a seed, meaning every dollar is a seed to plant to grow $1,000. I then take that 1,000 to grow 10,000. You take that 10,000, you grow 100. You take that 100, you make it into $1 million, right? And then if you want more, go for more.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think it all comes down to like having a place for it. Making sure like what's coming in and then where it's going, what you're doing with it. Don't just wonder where it went.
Yeah. And so it's important to know that I think poor-minded people, they take their dollars and spend it immediately on things that they want. Rich-minded people, right? They view their money as soldiers. I'm going to send it out to the marketplace, come back with more, right? And if you have a business, you can do that through marketing, or if you can do that through investing like I do in the stock market every day. My dollars are soldiers to go get more soldiers. That's how I view money. Like you just got to change your mindset. I think people view money, I can buy more stuff. No, I can trade more, or I can do more marketing. That's all it is just a shift in how you think. And this is something that I'm actually always got to wrap up. Last statement. Something I always have to kind of tell myself is if you're only willing to do what's easy, life's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to do the hard stuff up front, life continues to get easier and easier, right?
Yep.
Because we do sit down with a lot of people who say life is hard, but they're not doing the things, right? They're just kicking back, right?
Yeah, I would say, I think, you're going to have problems no matter what. So it's like, you're going to have problems if you're broke, but you're going to have problems if you're rich. And so I would much rather have problems if I'm rich. than have-
We don't like saying that to sound like chauvinistic. We're just
I
telling.
don't. I mean, and I wouldn't even say we're rich.
No, I mean, rich is all relative, right? Because we're around some ultra wealthy people, so we don't view ourselves like that yet.
Yeah. I mean, like more financially.
Because rich is
secure.
relative, but yeah, we have been broke. We have had money, problems at the same time. Our problems are much easier to.
I'd much rather have problems now than back then.
It's like, but to come back to my point, we have done the hard stuff and we continue to do the hard stuff every day because we know life has definitely gotten easier, right? Now that we have more money, no debt, life has gotten easier. And honestly, sometimes I hate saying the word easier. Life has gotten simpler, right? Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy,
I
but
would
it has
say
gotten
it's
a little
just
simpler.
more like in our control too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I mean, it's not like we have a job that tells us you have to clock in at this time, you have to be here at this time, you have this meeting that you have to go to. Like, we're in more control now.
And I think once you change your mindset, like we literally can I'm to the point where I know I can manifest anything. Like I know how to do it. It's just a matter of, am I gonna do it?
Disciplined enough.
Yeah, but I know
consistent.
I know I can manifest anything. We've manifested everything so far. And so I know I can manifest anything. It's just a matter of putting that work in. Like you cannot cut the work. And so it's going to take you, hopefully when you get through this course, it's not going to be a quick fix. The course basically changes your mind. Then we are going to go through how to start winning with money externally. So I'm going to give you some math. We're going to talk about some budgets. We're going to talk about some debt. So there's going to be some external things. But for the most part, we're going to go into more detail on the RAS, how to figure out what's your wealth profile. We're going to talk about the 3 keys to winning with money, which I'll just kind of tell you, it's attitude and things like that, and input and associations. We talk about how fitness helps you win with money. That's really helped. I mean, I think there's a statistic that people who work out make like 30% more money than people who don't. So there's correlate. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, it's an awesome course.
$90. You'll also get access to one-on-one questions with us and things like that. So you got to get in there. It'll change the whole trajectory of your life. By the way, if you don't like it, full refund. So you got nothing to, you literally have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If there's some takeaways here, you guys need to be talking about the RAS. I mean, the RAS has changed my life, changed hers. Now I'll be able to teach my daughter Juliet about the RAS, so she'll be able to know how to get what she wants, right? So hopefully you enjoyed this. You can always come back at us with any questions. Get inside the Financial Breakthrough course and stay disciplined.